Work is actually easier to enjoy than free time, especially when you get into that flow state and you're doing deep, focused work. But getting started with deep work is really hard, especially when you haven't done it often. And all these distractions nowadays on your phone, on your computer, these billion-dollar social media companies all wanting your attention makes it even harder to learn the skill of being able to do deep, focused work. And there are a few struggles you're going to go with when you start off. Like when I first started, I was still watching 3 hours a day of YouTube on my phone. 3 hours a day over 10 years is a whole year of my life just looking at a piece of glass or metal, and I didn't want that. And I realized that right now being able to do deep work is a skill with the least supply because everyone's attention span is ruined, but it's extremely in demand, which makes it valuable, low supply and high demand. And so if you want my help to learn the most valuable skill, which is being able to do deep work, where you can get into a focus session and sit there for hours and hours and hours just focusing on one thing, getting so much done. You can get 3 hours of, in 3 hours of work, you can get a whole week's worth of work done. It's amazing what you can actually do if you can just sit down and focus. So if you want my help to learn the most valuable skill, scroll down to the description and click the first link right now. Now we're going to go through the three main struggles that you'll go through when you first start doing deep work. I went for a few periods where sometimes I didn't have much to do, and so I had a lot of procrastination when I was starting to do deep work. And there were times where I had so much on my plate that I found it hard to have the energy and the time to do deep work. So I went through different struggles, and I can talk about different types of struggles that I've been through when I first started doing deep work. And so the first one is dealing with the mental fatigue and your energy levels. When you first start doing deep work, and maybe you're on a full-time job, you're working a 9 to 5, it's hard to have the energy levels to actually get home and start doing more work after you've come from your day job. And it's almost like a mental wall. You've got energy to do things, but you haven't got the mental energy and the bandwidth to sit down and do focused work. You go to your basic attack, what I call them, things like going onto Netflix, watching Instagram and YouTube. And especially in the beginning, trying to have the energy to do deep work is extremely taxing. You feel burnt out. And so the solution is to have regular breaks. And when you're doing your deep work, have time to relax. Don't just do focus work for 3 hours straight. Have what I call half-time breaks, just like how an athlete has breaks between their game. Say they've got a 90-minute game, they'll have a break 45 minutes halfway through. For 15 minutes, where they relax, get their energy back, so they're ready to go for the next half. Same thing for when we're doing deep work. Don't try and just sit down and get it all done at once. Have breaks where you can go have a drink, go for a little bit of a walk, relax, listen to your body, and rest when it's needed. And especially when you've got lack of energy, before and after 9 to 5, what I found is the most helpful is waking up early so you can have time. I used to have to leave to work at 6:30. So what I do, I wake up around 5-ish, so I've got at least an hour or so to sit down and do some focus work for myself. And I would have like a deadline. I've got to get this done by 6 o'clock. So I know I've got a deadline for myself and what I want done. Rather than saying I'm just going to work for an hour, have something you want to get done by that hour. And so, especially when you're working that 9 to 5, having energy afterwards, the work is hard to do, but you've got energy in the morning to do it. When at least for me, in my experience, had energy in the morning to actually dedicate towards my goals and my own deep work session. So having time in the day that you can allocate towards your deep work, specifically in the morning, has been most beneficial to me. And start doing things like what I call one-time decisions. So what do you eat? You eat the same thing every single day. That's a one-time decision. You don't have to think about what am I eating every single day. You think about it once, and then you decide I'm going to eat that same thing every single day. It's hard to do, but it saves so much mental bandwidth of the amount of decisions that you have to make during the day. So the goal is basically reducing the amount of decisions and the mental bandwidth that you have to use so you can focus all your energy on your deep work in the morning, go to work, and then when you get back, you haven't got 1,000 decisions to make. You have just got to focus on doing one thing, dedicating a little bit of time towards your goals by sitting down and doing some more work. Because when your energy is low, you're going to go back to what I call the basic attacks. And for me, things were like watching YouTube. That was my basic attack. The things you do, like when the Pokemon's got the basic attack you can always use, but it's only got special attacks it can use, once every few moves. So that's the same thing for us. We've got basic attacks, so the things we do when we haven't got much energy, and then the special moves, the things that we do when we've got the energy. So we should be trying to figure out how can we make doing deep work our basic attack. And it starts with making one decision that'll last a long time. So figuring out what you want to eat, figuring out your schedule, figuring out what tasks you do when you're in the, haven't got much energy. So like for me in the morning, it would be making YouTube videos. That's my one decision that I made that lasted a long time. It's by first thing in the morning, waking up and recording a video before I go to work by 6 o'clock. So that's how I've dealt with kind of the mental fatigue and lack of energy before and after work and having time, especially when you're busy, to do deep work. Now, when I did have lots of time, especially when I was at university and I had time to do deep work, what I was struggling with was the discomfort and the resistance that I felt. And you feel restless, distracted, you're not used to being able to sit down and do focused work yet. So what will happen is when you start doing work, you'll have all these ideas and these thoughts come to you. I want to do this. What about that? I thought about this the other day. What about that situation? How would I have done it differently? You'll have all these thoughts overloading you, and it causes you to feel resistance. It causes you to feel uncomfortable. But that's okay. What you need to be able to learn and be able to do is still work despite feeling that discomfort. And eventually what will happen is it'll quiet down. Those noises will go away and you'll get what's called the flow state. This is like when you're playing sports and you're having a lot of fun and you're enjoying it and you don't even think anymore. Everything feels effortless. And so that's what we want to get into. And so overcoming the urge to multitask is super important, and we can do this by learning to meditate. And what meditation actually helps with is it develops your refocusing skills. So when you're going in your first sessions of deep work, what's going to happen is you're going to get distracted, but the skill you've got to learn is to bring your focus back to the work at hand. And that's what meditation will develop, is when you're sitting down and you're meditating, you're just thinking on focusing on your breath. What will happen is you'll get distracted. These random thoughts will come up, but it's about refocusing on your breath, learning that skill to refocus. So you'll get those urges to multitask, switch between different tasks here and there, but you can get so much more done if you just focus on getting one task done and focus non-stop on that. So meditation will help with that, and also starting with shorter sessions of deep work and gradually increasing. Just like when you would go to the gym, you don't go to the gym and start lifting 100 kilos. You start with 5 kilos. Then you gradually increase as you get stronger and stronger and stronger. Eventually, within a year, 2 years, 3 years, you're hitting 100 kilos easily. That's like your minimum standard now. Same thing for doing deep work. We've got to start small and gradually build yourself up to where we're able to do 3 hours of deep work. And now the last trouble that I had was managing interruptions and distractions. This is similar to the resistance, but this is more about the phone distractions that pop up. Your notifications, your iPhone calls, or things that just pop up in your brain on your phone that you hear as well. Those notification sounds, you got to turn them off. Those visual notifications, make sure they don't pop up. Those internal distractions that you have, those thoughts about what happened yesterday, those thoughts about this task that you got to complete. Have what I call a to-do list, where every single time that I think of a task, I add it to the to-do list. And I have a set time where I go through and do all my to-do list tasks. And so usually for me, that would just be on the bike at the gym. I'll just go through my to-do list tasks and get them all done. And so when I'm doing the deep work, I'm focusing on the deep work. I'm not thinking about my to-do list because I've already got a place to store that information. Because often what will happen is those thoughts will come to you because you haven't got somewhere to store them. So your brain's storing them. And we don't want our brain to store them. We want a piece of paper or a to-do list on your phone to store them. So we don't have to think about them. We just have a set time where we go through all this to-do list tasks. So your solution is create a distraction-free environment. You've got rid of your phone from your environment. You don't see it when you're working. If you can see a distraction, it will distract you. And then you've turned off your notifications so you don't hear anything. You don't hear that bing noise. And use tools like noise-cancelling headphones and apps to block notifications. So you've got a clean phone, you've got a clean environment, and you're like a horse with blinkers on you and just focusing on the deep work. And then have a notepad where you can write down the thoughts that you've come up with during a deep work session, or you've got a to-do list where if you think of ideas of things you need to be doing, you put them on the to-do list so you don't have to constantly store them in your brain and think about them. And you're probably thinking right now, well, I can't focus for long periods of time. Especially when you start doing deep work, you'll struggle with this. You're thinking, I need to be doing 3 hours of deep work straight away. Well, Everyone starts small and you're gradually building your focus muscle over time. When someone first goes into the gym, you shouldn't expect to be lifting 100 kilos if you've never done it before. Start with the 5 kilos and gradually build yourself up. Same thing for focus. You're probably thinking, well, interruptions are inevitable. I'm going to get that phone call. What if someone calls me and it's an emergency? Well, you need to have control over your environment, because your environment dictates how distracted you are and how focused you are. So set boundaries, things like, I don't use my phone between these times. When I'm doing my deep work, I'm doing my deep work. I'm not looking at my phone. So set boundaries for yourself. And you're probably thinking, well, I shouldn't feel tired. Something's wrong with me after I've done, 9 to 5. I want to have energy to do my deep work. Well, it's harder to have energy when you've allocated your whole day to working. So mental fatigue, it's normal, but have an allocated time in the morning that I found is most beneficial is in the morning doing my deep work when you've got the energy to do it, because it's possible to manage your energy with the right habits, the right routines. And if you get it done in the morning when you've got the energy, you can get a lot more done. And so your action plan for this video is gradual immersion. Start with short sessions of deep work and gradually increase. This is the struggle you go through. You won't be able to sit down and focus for long periods of time, but that's okay. Start with short sessions and then use techniques like mindfulness, so things like meditation, where you're able to train yourself to refocus. Start doing that. Create a distraction-free zone. Use noise-cancelling headphones. Block notification on all your devices, and have a notepad for intrusive thoughts or the to-do list things that you need to think of and store for later. So make sure your environment is distraction-free and you've got a nice environment to actually go and do deep work in. And when you start doing deep work, don't expect to do it for 3 hours straight. Schedule breaks where, you have what I call a halftime break, like an athlete. They might have a 90-minute game, but halfway through they have a 15-minute break to relax, recuperate, get their energies back and go again. Same thing for us. When you first start doing deep work, don't expect to go to do 3 hours of deep work straight away. Have a break halfway through and optimize your energy. Use the 3% rule. This is what I call the perfect morning routine. We allocate 3% of your day to doing healthy habits, so like the exercise, meditate, read, and journal. So I'll always allocate 3% of my day towards doing healthy habits, which is 45 minutes. So you can use that to actually improve your physical and mental energy. Make sure you're getting proper sleep and eating the right foods. You're not eating carbs, because carbs will actually give you a spike in energy, and a spike always causes a crash. And always save less demanding tasks for the evenings. So things that that are a little bit productive but don't require too much energy. Maybe emailing, messaging people, those sorts of things that don't require so much energy. You can do them later in the day, but do the focused tasks first thing in the morning. And just to reflect and adjust. Once you start doing things, you start working on your deep work routine. See what works, see what doesn't. Review your sessions and adjust accordingly. Make necessary adjustments to improve your deep work routine. It's like you don't have to not everything's set in stone. There is no perfect routine, but there is an optimal routine, and you can try and find the optimal routine for you by just experimenting with these different things. So if you found value out of this video and you want help being able to learn this skill of being able to deep work, you've got these struggles, but you want to overcome them, I can help you, and you can work one-on-one with me, and we'll go through everything. We'll create a great game plan for yourself. You can message me anytime. If you're struggling with this thing, you can say, hey, James, I'm struggling with this. Can you help me with that? I'll hop on a call with you, and we'll go through and within detail, we'll analyze what's going well and what's not, and we'll create a game plan for yourself. How can we overcome this struggle? And if you want my help to learn this most valuable skill, scroll down to the description and click the first link right now.